Welcome to the Your Turn podcast. I'm Cedric, your host. In this podcast, I interview people about their pivots in life, career and health, and the impact this has had on them. We talk about their systems, their learnings, the gut feelings they had. And today we talk with Maarten and Dylan, the founders of Usights. Quickly after university, they decided to become entrepreneurs. In the meantime, they have pivoted. They are launching the biggest sales community in Belgium. And we talk about the learnings, why they made the shifts, and we talk about the limits of scalability certain ideas have, as well as the mistakes many founders make. It was an amazing conversation I had with them. I learned a lot, and I'm sure you will too. Enjoy the interview. So, Dylan and Maarten, welcome to the first Your Turn podcast. You can bake the spits off, as we say in Flemish. So, no pressure. I'm really excited in hearing your story in why you have become an entrepreneur. You recently made a pivot. What were your learnings, and much more. But maybe a brief introduction from your side, Dylan.
Definitely. Well, first of all, thank you, Cedric, to let us be your first guest to this new podcast. I'm very enthusiastic about that. A short introduction about myself. What can I say? I think that most interesting maybe is to know that 2 years ago I graduated from university, and immediately after graduation I decided I wanted to go become an entrepreneur, start my own story, starting with my own baby, and make this dream becoming something big. So that's why Maarten and I decided to start up Usights, being what it is now, the leading sales community here in Belgium. And I think we'll explore more how we got here later on in this podcast.
Yes, and I think my story is pretty similar to Dylan. Also recently graduated 2 years ago, and then we started at the same time. Hobby-wise, I would say traveling, learning languages, and having a good time in general. So that's about it. I think you will learn more about us, like Dylan said, in the podcast. But I have to say, it feels a bit weird to be on the other side of the podcast. Normally we're the ones asking questions, but it's going to be a little change.
Yeah, and I have to calibrate my questions, so I'm sure there are going to be some pretty tough questions in it. So I have to get over it. But what is it really interesting, and I hear it more and more, right? Young people like you, when I graduated in the previous century, I didn't think of becoming an entrepreneur, and you really see and hear this more often, that like people from your generation, you decide to become an entrepreneur. Why is this, you think?
Well, I think everyone has his own reason. I think my reason was I wanted to have some kind of freedom from the start. I know I can be, and I mean it in a good way, I can be some kind of a workaholic, and if I want to put the hours into something, why could it be for my own project? And then I guess also some kind of ego that's there somewhere, just because I would like to, I think later, have my name coupled to a big, I'm not going to say, I still want to be humble when I say it, but it's kind of the way I think I'm thinking. But really I want to have made something that is providing a lot of value to many people, and I want to be able later to say, that's my story.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, for me, the first part as well is the freedom. That's a big part for me. Freedom in terms of what you do, but also a bit where you do it. I have the ambition to work abroad. Nowadays it's in Belgium still, what we do, but later on I want to do it from different places in the world. And I think when you have your own company, after a while you can gear your company towards what you want in your personal life as well. Second of all, I think the ambition to create something like this, something big ideally. And I think you learn the fastest when you do it yourself, because you have to do everything. Everything is your responsibility, so it's an amazing learning curve. And as well to meet people. It's unbelievable as an entrepreneur how many people you get introduced to, and thanks to those people you learn more and more and more. So you progress way faster, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a very good story. And then when you look at your learnings, you probably went to a trajectory as well as how did you arrive to Usights in exactly this? You didn't decide to become an entrepreneur in a making shoes, ice creams, which can also be very successful. Why exactly Usights?
Haha, the why question. I think it's actually that's maybe more of something from my side. When I started with the entrepreneurial journey, it's really because I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I really wanted to have that little baby that I can work on and make it grow. And back then, I didn't come from a situation where I was in pain or I had someone in my network that was in real pain and I was the one that could find a solution for that pain. So actually, I just started off with something I'm very passionate about, being revenue generating activities, whether it's about traditional marketing, growth marketing, sales, anything that has an influence on that. That's really something I loved. I could read books about it, I could listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos about it, you name it. So I had a previous entrepreneurial experience, which was building a e-learning platform for people that wants to study medicine. And that experience, I took it with me, building an e-learning platform and commercializing it as well. And then I had my interest being anything that has to do with revenue generating activities. So I thought, why not, as a second project, which would be then more ambitious because, of course, revenue generating activities versus people that want to study medicine, it's two different markets of two total different sizes. So I decided, why not building that instead? And then I would be every day, discussing revenue generating activities with one of the best experts in those fields. So I thought this would be amazing. And so I think that's how we started the Usights story, actually.
Yeah, I ended a bit later. It was Dylan that's no, I'm going to tell the whole story. I was normally still going on an exchange to India. But due to Corona, it all got off tracks, not possible anymore. And then 2 weeks later, Dylan came to me, hey, I have a startup idea. He explained me the idea. I was like, yeah, I always wanted a startup. I always thought it will be something I do after a couple of years of work experience. But then I was just, why not? Why not just do it now? Throw yourself into it, give it your all, because you don't have another plan. And then that's how we started. And since then, we never looked back, I would say.
And when you started, how did you decide to divide the roles? Who will do what?
Yeah, that's something, especially in our case, because you hear a lot that when you have a startup with a lot of potential, you need to have three types of roles. You need to have the product designer, the one that really designs the offerings. You have to have that commercial person that thinks of the marketing and the sales approach and the whole commercial engine. And then you have the technical guy, the CTO, the one that develops it. And I think in our case, we are both kind of we both come from a business background. So we had a similar background, but yet we are still complementary in the sense that we look at business from a different point of view. As in, Maarten is being is really the realistic operational guy. How can I make processes being optimized? Whereas I am more how should I say it? The too optimistic, sometimes ambitious, but also kind of the visionary maybe of the two. And I think those two stuff makes us very complementary, and we also use that insights into the division of the roles. So I think I'm more the commercial person. People really looking for. Talk to potential clients, to actual clients, because I think I'm one of the people that will share that passion, that dream with much more emphasis or hugeness. And Maarten is more the operational guy. So when we started with the e-learning business, Maarten was really the one looking into how can I record anything, how can I edit every footage that we have, how can I put that into processes to really optimize it. And so that was his thing, and I was more the guy that would talk to anyone and just make the connections happen.
Okay. And then Maarten, for you, so you decided to build the e-learning platform. Maybe tell in a few steps, how did you go about it until you had your first recording?
For me, it was completely new, so I never recorded anything. I never had a camera in my hand, so it was... In the beginning, it was a big pain, I have to say. Not a pain, it was a challenge. It was a challenge. Really start from zero, watch 1,000 YouTube videos, and then, like Dylan said, try to find a process. Like, how do other people do it? You write all those processes down, and then see what seems logical to me? What process would I keep? What would I cut out? And then I started from, of course, camera. Okay, that's important. But then how expensive do you have to go? Then we set a certain range. Okay, we go for the audio. There are 3 kind of options. What's the most foolproof? That's easy to use for everybody and still has the highest quality. Same for light. Okay, light is important, but what do you need exactly? Okay, that type of light. Okay, perfect. Light, camera, audio. We're ready to go. And then it was just, okay, we're going to try. And then we contacted Michael Humblet to do the first course, and we did it. Found a good place to shoot. And then we started. And then, of course, your first recording is not perfect at all. You see, like, oh, we missed that kind of equipment. We missed that, like, preparation, a certain sheet where you should write everything down with a certain logical following. And that's how we keep improving. And I think after 5 recordings like that, we felt like, okay, we have a smooth machine that can run if it's needed, yes.
Yeah, nice. And especially when you start documenting all the processes from the beginning, I think it really gave you, an advantage over people that maybe don't document. And it's also very inspiring. So I've seen your recordings, I participate in your recordings. The way you approach things is very systematic. It is a very, it is very well thought of. So it is a running engine. So really congratulations for this. And it's amazing what you can do if you, I would never have said that you didn't have a camera in your hand. Well done. And if you look at it now, right? So then you had the number of recordings. So you had the business model. Maybe tell us briefly about the business model that you had in mind.
Yeah. So regarding the e-learning platform, so the original business model, you can compare it to some kind of Netflix type of model. You know, you get a subscription, and then you get access to the platform, and on the platform you have all those different master classes talking about any revenue generating activities. So, you know, it can go from SEO to really how do I close a deal, how do I do cold calling, how do I do pipeline management. I know you know it because that was your master class. A very good one, by the way.
Thank you.
So that was kind of the business model behind it. As a company, you take licenses for each employee that you want him or her to get access to the platform, and that's how we make the money. And then, of course, it's a 2-sided market in our case, so all the experts also got a share of any revenue that we generated.
Okay, so with this, with the number of courses, you go to the market, you contact a number of customers. What, according to you, was lacking to build that momentum that you guys first had planned?
I think the first part is on like my side of the thing is a production. Production was, even though you had a system in place and we thought we were very efficient, it still was not fast enough. It took around, let's say, 2 weeks to produce a masterclass from scratch. You think, that's okay, but still, then if you are very productive, you only have 25 masterclasses in a year in our current setup. That was the first challenge, because you see other platforms coming out with so much content. So we're searching like, okay, what should we do to ramp this up and still keep the quality? Because we want to stay the quality, stay high. And then it was money. Then it was like, okay, we need a lot of money to do that. So that's, from my side, the first hurdle we had. And I think from the other side, that's more Dylan's side, was the sales part of the whole platform, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's just true for any business. You have to understand what's the bottleneck of the business, what is really keeping you to grow, and exactly what Maarten said. And then my part again was the trying to sell the platform, but at some point, I just know it wasn't gonna take off because I wasn't myself a big believer anymore in the platform, just because selling is all okay if you know that what you're selling is providing the best value for your clients. And of course, the masterclass that we had were superb. I mean, they were amazing, and they still are amazing. But the model that we envisioned was not going to support it. So what we saw happening is that we had, you had people that could just purchase regular master classes, and then you had the subscription model. And we saw some people buying the master classes, just the individual master classes. But then the subscription, there, it never really took off. And I think the reason for that is because, as Maarten said, you need to have volume. If you want a Netflix subscription and there is only 10 movies on it, well, you're not going to purchase that Netflix subscription. And that was the same case. So unless we were venture-backed and we had a whole production team and we were working on 20 master classes in the same week, then it could have made sense. But that's not the story that we wanted to create for ourselves.
Yeah. I think there are two very important lessons there, right? So on the first side, definitely as a salesperson, if you don't believe in the product, you will not sell. So you definitely you have to believe in the product to be able to evangelize it, to stand behind it, and to go after that deal, because you can help and serve your customer. And the second thing is, again, for me, it's a huge level of maturity. You decided and you felt and you had analyzed that's not it. So let's change and let's go a bit deeper into this. So do you remember what was the exact moment that you decided, okay, we won't do it, we will pivot, and then maybe continue in the story? And okay, what was then the pivot, the plan to pivot into, and how did you do it?
I remember the moment very well. The moment we had the first call of we need to pivot. It was just because I just arrived in Valencia. I was here for 6 months, and the first week Dylan calls me. Maarten, we know we've been thinking about this, what we're gonna do next, but I don't feel it anymore. I don't feel I can't really sell this product. And then the doubts in my mind came stronger. Actually, yes, I see it, because I don't see the end product right now. It's gonna take too long and too much money. So that was for me the moment we both shit, we need to change. I think that was a very difficult week as well. I think during that week we've been 3 days in a row constantly on a call together, just to think, what are we gonna do? What messages did we get from possible clients, and how do we go about the next steps? I think that's the exact moment I remember that the pivot started.
Yeah, I can remember it very well as well, because it was probably the darkest time of our entrepreneurial story, even though it's still pretty young. But as Maarten said, there was a moment in time, and especially if you feel that you cannot sell it. At first I thought I just wasn't a salesperson, I wasn't made for sales, I'm just not good at it. But actually, and that's something I reflected later on, it's really just because I didn't believe myself in the thing that we were producing. And yeah, of course, that's a big red flag. And then we, as Maarten said, 3 days straight, we never stopped calling, just brainstorming about what would be possible next steps, and then define an action plan to make a decision on and towards those next steps.
Yeah. And were you ever thinking to completely stop and find a regular job?
At that moment, I think you always have it in your back of your mind, wouldn't it be easier to have another job? But I think we both had the feeling we never gave it a good go. We never had something that's finished, a finished product, and we're going to the market where we believe in it, and we're going to bring it to the market. So I think it's always in your back of the mind, wouldn't it be easy to get a job, do this part-time a bit in the background? But if you never really gave it a go, really, I don't think it was ever an option. And I think we still believed that there was something to improve in the sales side of things, but then just with a different kind of product or service.
Yeah, I think it has never felt like a failure, more like we need to change something. And I really identify myself as an entrepreneur, so I could never just go back and get a regular job. I could never do that. The worst I could do, and it's not really that bad, is just find a freelance job that I can do from the side, so that I can still pursue my own dreams. But that would have been the worst I could have. I'm thinking of that. I've spoken to people of what could I do as a freelance activity next to this, but that's it.
Yeah. And then so we have the emotion. You won't stop. There's also the rational decision of a certain direction you will go into. Can you tell us a bit more about how you came to this rational decision of we're going to do this for those reasons. Because the plan that you have now and what you're building now, it's brilliant. It's very ambitious, and Belgium absolutely needs this.
Yeah, I think it's not like there was a particular moment in time where we decided this is going to be it. It really took a long time a couple of weeks to really decide and really define it precisely what it is that we wanted, because it has always been the ambition to build the sales community in Belgium, but it was more as a marketing lead generating activities for the e-learning business. Okay. So it has always been there, but it was never really defined as this will be the main business. And I think that because if you want to build a community, you can do a lot. You can still organize trainings, and you can still say it's part of the community. So that gave us a lot of flexibility, but that at the same time it made it also very difficult for us to really define what is going to be the main business model. How are we going to do something else that will maybe just attract people to the Usights brand, so that afterwards we can maybe present the main business activity. So I think that thing, the whole value ladder, that was something that we kind of struggled. But I think that because actually, fortunately for us, we were we still are in one of those accelerating programs called We Are Founders, and it was just during those times that we got a lot of workshops about how can you test a idea within the market. So really any workshops around business prototyping, how do you do user interviews, and those workshops were actually really useful because I could immediately put it into practice. So for example, on the website we decided to put already information regarding the ideas that we have, but we haven't. It was not planned to do it, but we could already share the information and see whether or not people would actually interact with the content that we have on the website. And if you see a lot of clicks on, for example, a conference, that there might be a lot of people interested in a conference in Belgium. So that's some of the concept and the ideas that we got out of those workshops, and then we could start to implement and to test.
Yeah. And from testing to actually implementing, do you work like with an agile approach, or how do you do it?
I think agile is more something that we wish to do. I think for us it's also because they always say if you test, you need to validate a test. But how do you actually validate a test? You can say we have a lot of clicks on that particular thing, and so there is an indication that people might be interested in that. But to me, the real validation is when people actually pay for it. They really take the wallet and are more than happy to pay for the thing that you offer, and that's the actual validation. So I think it was in November, December of 2021, that Maarten and I decided that maybe we just should go with something big, something very broad as well. And that's when the idea of organizing a conference started. Because at a conference, you have actually a lot of the community activities that you bring together during one day of the event. Yeah. And so for us, that was kind of a challenge and ambitious, but also some sort of safe bet, because you do a lot.
Yeah, I also have to say, we were doubting about two big things. Either we do it slowly, like we do small events a lot of times, or we go big at one time. But the problem is, because we just started, we don't have a big network of sales leaders. At that time we didn't. How do you start with small events? Are the people going to come? Like, you can do small events for a year and maybe have a database of like 100, 200 people, but that's not enough. That's not a lot for a community. So then we said, okay, what can we do as well? Okay, a bigger conference. Okay, there's more risk, of course. You put more money down, but you make a name for yourself. You put everything out there. You put all your time in one thing. I think that was also a big part of the thinking. Like, once you do a big event, people will hear about your name, will see you everywhere. And then after that conference, you can ask everybody and talk to everybody like, okay, we have our community. What kind of things do you want more in this community? Like, you've seen the sessions, in the event, you've seen the networking in the event, you've seen our sales solutions in the event. Yeah. What do you like more of it? And then you can really have the data of people that paid for your event, like Dylan said, like they paid for it. Where do we want to pay again for? What aspects of the conference? And then we can see further what the plan is. We have an idea, of course, but then we have validation. Okay, that idea is good. We go all into those kind of activities.
Yeah. I think you said there something very true that I want to add on. Having a one element where you put all your focus on, because indeed at first we were thinking of organizing all those different multiple small events. That's also the thing that many people recommended to us. To organize very small-sized events and a lot, but then we were thinking, but if you have to organize for each of those events, you have to, create an event LinkedIn page. You have to invite all those people to attend. You have to actually organize all of those. You just have all your focus dispersed over all those initiatives. Yeah. So we said, no, let's just go big, but let's make it simple. There is only one thing we will focus on for the coming 3 to 4 months, and that's going to be it. Yeah. And that's what we're still doing right now.
But even the one thing, organizing an event, it sounds like event, simple, but behind it there's of course a huge organization going on. And so I think it's like, is it not like starting from scratch again, learning all the things again?
I think in that thing we were a bit lucky that we had both had experience in events. Me as just like nightlife events, but then for also an older
Me too, then.
kind of an older generation always, and also pretty big. So that was the first thing. So you knew where to start, and didn't even in a bigger sense at Economica, at a student organization. They organized big events for students, but then like multiple thousands of people. So you both have an idea what you have to do in that kind of events, and then it's more like who do we need? Yeah. And we found a couple of guys that could help us in this. And then divide the roles, because like you say, it's so much work. It's like the sponsors, speakers, the logistics, the marketing, the sales. So it is a big thing, but if you know, again, what the process is, what the different like chapters are, then you can make a plan and go do it. So,
And do you have, again, there specific like systems or processes that you, one, document and two, practice?
I think we are documenting it right now. I think we have made a lot of mistakes already that we won't do for the following editions. But that's part of the process, and you have to embrace those mistakes. That's those are going to happen. You're going to make some, but that's okay. And I think the most important part is to just actually do it. And I think that's one of our strengths, is that when we say that we are going to do something ambitious and audacious, we are actually going to do it. And that's what I love about our, we'll say our culture, who we are. And but you just have to make it happen. You will make mistakes, but then, as you said, you have to document it and just remember it for the next time, and then you will do it even better.
Yeah. Well, can you maybe share one mistake that you can, like a facepalm moment that you go, we would have done it differently if you would have known, or?
It's all small mistakes, but all put together, you would save yourself a lot of money and time. I think what I can, top of my mind now is some elements regarding the ticket sales. We bring a lot of people on the website, but then they can leave us immediately. Why not putting some type of lead form, so that you can email people that were interested but couldn't make a decision right now. Yeah. Something else that we did was, regarding the event venue, there we made a lot of naive. We were kind of naive in the sense that we thought we could do everything that as we wished, but of course you have to follow their guidelines as well. If you want to do catering, you do it a lot of times with them, and we thought there was some kind of flexibility towards that. But that's something that we know now, and we won't make that mistake again later.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So if you look at the pivot itself, so you decided to pivot, you decided to have that event. Did you kind of have a launch event with a number of people to really kick it off, or how did you do?
No. For us, the first event will be We Are Sales. So we didn't really do a small one, because that was the way of thinking, are we going to do the small ones, or are we not going to do it? It's really either we do them, or we just go big at one time, because we didn't have the time to do both. We were thinking about that, like maybe we should do like 2-3 smaller events so that people can already come for free and then they come to the bigger one. But then we're thinking, but that's the reason we didn't do all those small events, to save us the time and work to one big goal. So we didn't do it.
Yeah. So, I think also, one of the problems is that people that know us, people that know us, sometimes they still think that we are an e-learning business. But that's not the case anymore. I really want to, differentiate ourselves from that. And so organizing then small events, when people think that you are in an e-learning business, they will think that it's probably some kind of webinar, so that afterwards they will sell you master classes. Or it wouldn't make a lot of sense. So now we decided indeed to put all the focus into that conference, so that on that conference day we'll be able to, spread the message of we are the Belgian sales community. Look to the people from your left, from your right. Those are all sales leaders. We have brought you all guys together, and that's really what we stand for. And so that's going to be our big messaging moment. And then from that moment on, of course, we will organize also smaller-sized events and all types of events, actually.
Okay, clear. And then if you look at the momentum you had before the pivot and the momentum you're building now, what is the main difference, and how do you feel it? How do you see it?
Oh man, the energy and you can feel it. You can really, really feel it. It was, before the pivot, it was dark. Of course, you're still enthusiastic about, doing the stuff and making stuff happen. But I think that now, you do something right. It's really just an intuition. But I think it says a lot.
I think also a big thing, it's a small thing, but it's a small thing, but when you're sending out emails to possible clients, like possible prospects, we often get the message, we can't be there on the 25th, but please keep us in the loop for next events. And that's something we never experienced with the masterclasses, like, when is the next coming out, when is the next this, when is the next that. I think last week we had maybe 10 emails of people saying like, I can't come, I can't be there, unfortunately, but keep me in the loop. And for me that's like, okay, there is validation, or there is need to connect. People want to be part of something. So even if it's not this one, they will come to a next event. So for me, that's a big thing of attraction, that it gives a peace of mind from, okay, we have a concept here. It's now all about execution.
Yeah, I think that's something that those are the small stuff that, you're not going to see it in the type of dashboard, or it's not a KPI that you track, but exactly when you talk to people, or also people that just said, the masterclass, that thing, of course, I think that's possible, but what you do now, I believe much more into that. And so that's, a small phrase, but you hear that a couple of times, and it helps you confidence, it boosts your confidence, and it gives you that, that's probably where my intuition comes from when I say I have a much more positive feeling now towards that new adventure.
Yeah. And if you look at, you compared yourself in another interview with Pavilion in UK and abroad. If you look at how they work with chapters, they work with local leaders. Do you see something similar?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think I like the fact that you mentioned Pavilion, because for us it's kind of a great example of what the Usights community can become, but we still have to consider their first step and how they started. So where they are right now is not what we want to achieve tomorrow, but we did look up into their history, how they started, where they started, what they did, and we see actually a lot of similarities, just coincidental, but we also now taking their learnings into consideration when we do stuff. So to come back to your question, will you organize chapters, and I know they also do some kind of programs and all this stuff. Yeah, most probably. Yeah. But I think a lot of also will come from direct feedback from customers. Now we can say that we have our first customers, which was something different with the master classes. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of the evolution will still have to come from them, because again, Pavilion started in New York. We are here in Belgium, different culture, different type of how people perceive sales and stuff like that. So I think that we'll definitely consider more the people's feedback here, but also take into consideration Pavilion's story.
I think also the focus now is really, let's make it big in Belgium, and then we'll see what we will do next. like next to it. We want to go bigger, but first focus on what's now, and then we'll grow bigger. Because a big difference with them, they started in New York, but they straight away went to London because somebody asked them, "Hey, can I do it in London?" And they went to Toronto. So it's like they do big cities, and that's how they made the network grow. But first, more like let's build out the country first, and then we'll see like should we go with the same concept to the Netherlands and do it there, or do we just expand the whole community to the Netherlands? Mm-hmm. That's also a big thing. Like, do we like them like give your own chapters or make it one big thing? Yeah. So that's still not known, but first the focus is on Belgium.
Yeah, clear. Oh, and I'm not going to stay too long with them. But what I really like about them, you have the members. They're proud to put part of Pavilion. So this is really a very strong element in being a community. Where you have hundreds of communities. Sometimes the activity is very low. So it's really building that momentum, being proud of a community, what you can contribute, and the other way around. So again, right? Belgium does not have this.
100%, and that's something we really want to achieve, like they did. The being part of a community, and that's something we learned from them. They very specialized on VP sales or above, and that was first the cue as well. Like, okay, we have to really choose where we go for. And first we were doing like the whole sales community for events. Then we said, okay, everybody that's on the event should be able to identify with the person next to him. So then we said, okay, we need to specialize. We go to sales leaders. So a bit like they did, but a bit more broader, but still specialized and not just a whole broad thing. That's something I think we also learned from our first venture in the e-learning, because we chose marketing and sales from the beginning, but that was too broad. And then we said to ourselves when we were thinking about it, we can't make this mistake again. We first need to have a certain kind of niche, and then we can grow out of it. But first we need to conquer that niche.
Yeah, I was going to add something to that.
Go ahead.
Like, I forgot. No. What did you say again, Maarten?
That it was automatically part of it. That the first you had sales and marketing.
Oh yeah. I remember. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's because when we started the e-learning business, it was really with the purpose of educating people so that they can become even better at what they do. And I think within the community now, you can put an SDR with a sales director of a big multinational into a conversation, but the level of conversation for both of them will not be equal if they would be discussing with people from, that have the same ambition, same challenges, same responsibilities. And so I think that that's what we realize that we should focus on, especially when we here at Pavilion did that too at the beginning. So by actually connecting people, connecting sales leaders that are at the same level, with the same ambition, they have the same growth ambition, for example, they have the same challenges, the same responsibilities. When you put them together so that they can discuss and share their best practices, their failures, that's the moment that they will be able to learn. Because I mean that's something that we strongly believe. In sales, there's no one right thing to do sales. It's not an exact science. It's part art, part science. And so the art part is where you get inspiration from other artists, from other sales leaders, and what they tried, what failed, what succeed. And I think that's really how you as a sales leader, especially if you have already 10 years of experience, you know all the frameworks and all the models, you really want to have something new. And I think listening to other people's experiences will be it's the newest way then to actually learn and develop yourself as a sales leader. And so that's why we also definitely focused on that particular niche.
Yeah. I really feel the energy when you talk about it.
It's really like that.
Yeah, definitely. And still there I'm sure still a bunch of challenges, right? So if you can share this, what would be your biggest challenge right now, and what is your plan to overcome it?
That's a good question.
It's a sales question, I know, but I would like to ask it to you as well.
No, I think, the biggest challenge is, I think, still figuring out what is the exact offering that will make a lot of people happy, or I should say that will attract people, and that once they have the offering, when they have those services that we offer, they're so happy that they will still come back to us. That's really the challenge that we are in right now, looking for that product market fit, if I have to put it in startup terms. Because now we are guys that like to experiment a lot. And so we have a lot of experiments, but we still have to bundle all of this thing into one offering. And that's kind of the challenge, because you really have to define it very well, and it needs to be there for a lot of people. You want to make something scalable at the same time, you know? So I think that's kind of the challenge.
Yeah. And also because the perception of people, like, we need this. Like, a lot of people say it's nice, it's cool, the idea, but then still in Belgium we're still a bit behind, I would say, in terms of other countries, of like wanting to be in the community. The idea now they like, but now it's really like, okay, I want to be part of it, and I really want to contribute to the community. I think that's still a bit of a mindset change that's now ongoing, and we really need to push them over that, like, that hump of like, just become part of it and help each other.
Yeah, as I say, building the urgency, what's in it for them, what's in it for me. So that's a key thing. Yeah. And if you look at in 12 months from now, where do you plan to be?
The first fundraising. No, not particularly. That actually depends on any much more other stuff. I think in 12 months, we will be organizing the second conference. We will have the first people within the community attending multiple initiatives that we organize. And so what we expect from that moment is to see actually recurring customers. And I think if we have to really put numbers on it, if we can reach a community with already 200 people that are happy, that are returning, and then we can grow from there, that would be actually ideal. Because that's also for us the moment that, all right, we have something that works, that people are, happy with. How can we make that offering now even more scalable, and maybe look at, can we maybe enter a new market?
Yeah.
But maybe for the 12 coming months it's kind of too ambitious. Maybe we just want to start up and build that community here in Belgium. But that will be the next milestone after we have reached that, I would say. Really looking to how can we take this concept to other markets.
Yeah, I think the good thing in Dylan is the recurring customer thing. That's the most important. First of all, in terms of the conference, we go now for 300 people. That should at least double for the second edition. So we want to build like a big, almost marketing vehicle for us, where people come to like a community, where it's organized by a community for the community. That's the most important marketing thing. And then like there's the recurring customers. If you have 200 members that come back the second year, then we know, okay, we can scale this. We can put a bit more money in everything we do because we have a sharp offering, so we can really scale. And then I think, like Dylan said, the 12 months after it, then it's time to expand really. So yeah.
Okay, and what I was thinking about when you were talking about community, my experiences in communities, you have people that or we call them the lurkers, that they read everything but they don't really contribute to a conversation. You have other people that are extremely active. You have also sometimes people that may be too active. Do you have an idea of moderating this in a certain way?
That is what a community builder needs to do, definitely. You need to moderate those conversations, you need to, try to include anyone that is part of the community. A lot of the initiatives that we will organize will also be one-on-one within the community. Okay. So that's something, if it's one-on-one, you have to be active. And also something that we will leverage because we start within Belgium, and Belgium is a small country, so we can organize also in-person events. And I think in this first year we will, leverage the fact that we can do that pretty easily. And in-person events, you have, it's hard to not be active. And I think that will be something that we have to do. But then, as you say, you have those people, and we'll just have to include them. How that we will do this will actually really depend on what we organize or what we do. I don't think we will start off with, having a forum or conversation within an online platform, because the best way for salespeople especially, to do that is via LinkedIn. We have tried to have an online community that's actually entirely for free. People can still join the community right now, but we see that people, they have LinkedIn right now. They are very content with that. They're very happy with that. So the way that we will actively have those community members being engaged is really through the initiatives that we will organize. Whether
and I think
those are virtual or in person.
I think a big part that Dylan said, like we do smaller kinds of events as well for people one-on-one or in a small group to really bring together people from the same level, from the same, not the same industry, but same level, small groups. So you really have to interact with each other. Like if you bring, for example, 10 VP sales together from like almost multinationals, like they will want to learn from each other. They will want to speak. And then somebody can be a laggard in a big group. He will open up in a smaller group where he can really see the challenges. So I think that's a big thing we want to do, like bring like-minded people together in the same position. So like if it's about sales enablement, we bring 10 sales enablement VPs together so they can discuss their challenges. And that should normally solve the problem of people that are just not active, because it's a challenge. Indeed, it is a challenge.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, good. I like it. So we are almost at the end, and I have 3 questions that I will ask, and I am asking to all the guests. So the first one is, what did you wish that you have done differently?
I like this one, and I think that my answer would be to have talked more to potential customers from the beginning, and really have a prepared interview, really know what information do I want to get out of them, maybe even actually sell something we don't actually offer yet, to really have that confirmation that yes, there is a market for it and we can go do it. Because if we would have done that with the e-learning business and the master classes, it could have, we might have pivoted very much earlier. And I know in Belgium that's not easy, because people in Belgium, they like to always say, yeah, that's a good idea, I love it. And actually they love more the fact that you are a young entrepreneur more than the idea itself. But still, I think that's something that I would have tried.
Yeah, for me, like I said, test the market. I think that's the most important, the biggest mistake we made. We waited way too long to go to customers. We never tried to really test the market. Like Dylan said, people said, it's a good idea, it can work, there's a market for it, but you never really tested it. So I think that's the biggest mistake we made. Yes.
Okay. And definitely testing, validating, talking to 20, 30 people, and then even if they say we are interested, just like you said, Dylan, do they actually buy it? Do they show me the money? Does this
exactly?
Will they pay? Yeah, definitely. All right. Second question. Did you have like one podcast or one book that helped you shaping your decision? And if so, which one is this?
I will say something else, and I know Maarten is smiling because we have the same name in mind, but it's actually a very inspirational business influencer that Maarten and I follow very closely, and his name is Alex Hormozy. If you ever can get him on the podcast, you scored the hell out there. No, Alex Hormozy is an entrepreneur that has started by building gyms in the US, and he built the first one, and then at some time he had 6 different gyms. Then he decided to sell his gyms, but actually start a kind of how should I say it? Some type
consulting
of
business,
consulting business for gyms in the US. But he scaled that, and the man is kind of a philosopher in some way. So he has really strong thoughts and polarizing mindset, mind shift, and I think it's that's something he kind of shapes the way that we think in some way.
Okay, I'm gonna try to bring him on board.
And then we want to go first. Then we want to go first on our podcast.
So you both have the same name.
I think he really influenced us a lot, because we often watch different like influencers, we read different books, but I think he's the one that we both said yes, he has the same mindset as we have. Dylan recommended me once, and I was like, okay, he's gonna be an American influencer that's gonna talk big, but no, he was amazing. Like just the way he tells things, how real he is, the way he acts, it's unbelievable. And he has a book as well, $100 million offers, I think it's called. Yes, really good. Like to read and to listen to it. Yes, big inspiration.
Yeah, I heard yesterday about his book as well in a different community. So
there you go.
I have to look him up. I have heard about him, but didn't really read his book yet. Will do. And then the final question: according to you, with your experiences now, when is the time to pivot? To decide, okay, we need to pivot. If you're an entrepreneur or if you're a person in a certain situation, when is it the time to pivot?
I think in our case was really like if you don't believe in your own product, like if you don't feel like confident enough to go sell it, I think that's a big red flag. And then it's time to look at what you're doing and see how you can change it. I think that's will be my answer.
I think in my case it's also I'm also someone that likes to really take every decision in considering what will be the case in how will it be in 2 years from now. And I think I make this reflection almost daily, and from that moment in time I realized that I don't know if in 2 years from now we will still have enough masterclasses on the platform to make it work. So that doesn't make any much more sense. And I think you have those more rational reflection, but it's also some kind of gut feeling. You start to feel bad, you start to feeling that energy lowering day by day, and then you just realize you have to do something. You have to do something about it. Just change it, and that's okay. I mean, it's the same thing when you hear people having a burnout or some kind. It's not because you need some rest days. To me, it's really because you're not happy, content with the situation you're in right now, and you just have to change it. Do something about it, and that's that's definitely what we did.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Great advice from two very aspiring entrepreneurs with a, for me, really brilliant idea, and you do the execution. So that's really looking forward. So in a couple of weeks you have We Are Sales event. Best of luck with this. Best of luck with your entrepreneurial journey. We stay in touch, and thank you so much for being our guest on the podcast.